Okay, y'all. Well, I'm going to comment on Maui, and I was hesitant to do this just because I I I don't know if I really need to comment on every event that takes place that seems to ring certain bells, ring certain chimes. Bring up certain subjects to the minds of those who are in the know. But I thought it would be interesting to look at it in a certain way, and that's, I guess, questioning whether this event is will represent a turning of the tide. And of course, I know the easy thing to do is to be just pessimistic about it and just and black pilled and just say no, that's it's not going to happen. Most people don't care. Most people don't know about this stuff. You're just in your little bubble, and that's why you think differently. But I wonder about that because, well, let me first talk about the event itself, which in itself is very, very strange. You know, I I I, I don't know a whole lot about wildfires, and I know next to nothing about wildfires. I'll just say that right now. And extreme weather and the effect that extreme weather and wildfires can have on each other. I know natural disasters actually do happen, but in this case, you seem to have fires that are melting, metal objects, you know, melting the metal in cars and leaving just rubble in places where you wouldn't think wildfires would they wouldn't burn that hot. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to go beyond, because that's sort of what I get the feeling that's what they kind of want you to do. They want you to go to say it was this or it was that, and I'm not going to do that. But I will just suffice to say that natural explanations for this seem to me to be dubious. But I mean, take that with a grain of salt because I'm a layman, and this is not anything close to my specialty field. I just know that generally speaking, you know, even if there's a raging inferno somewhere, it's not going to melt metal. Okay, that just doesn't happen. So then you have all of the reports about people trying to get away from the fires and the the law enforcement people, the officials who are supposed to be in charge of emergency situations, who are supposed to be there to help people, get out of peril when an emergency takes place, that is due to either a natural catastrophe or an unnatural catastrophe, whatever this particular one was. You have reports, and these are reports that are, I looked around. These are things that are being talked about in mainstream media now. They're not. I mean, they're not being totally suppressed. Uh, they're probably not being talked about as much as they should be. But but on like I've just sort of scrolled around a little and seen that people with these accounts of stuff that just should not have happened. Things like that the people who were trying to who had their houses on fire, who had fires in their neighborhoods, they turned off the water so that they couldn't put out the fires. And not only did they do that, but they blocked off the roads. So the people who were trying to get away, the police came and parked, and you know, made it parked in a way that made the road impassable. And of course, they didn't set off the alarm. They had you know, these sirens that are supposed to go off in case of an emergency, and they didn't set them off. And they have reason, like they say, oh well, that's just because of we were trying to make sure that people weren't going away they shouldn't, that would have been dangerous for them to go. And they say, well, we didn't use the siren because that's not for fires, it's for something else. But then, yeah, that's not true. You look it up, and that's not true. It is used for fires. It is used for any kind of emergency situation. Um, uh, and as far as, you know, trying blocking people off because power lines are down on this road, and well, I mean, you, you've got to let people get away from where the fire is, though, don't you? And you hear stories of, well, they were, you know, they blocked off this road, and then I tried to go this way, and they blocked off that road, and then I tried to go this way, and they blocked off that road. Um, and so you get this sense of that the people are penned in, and that they wanted. I can't say that they wanted as many injuries and fatalities as possible, because that would be an irresponsible thing to say without you know, more evidence. But there is some dubious activity happening. And you know, if these officials are so blameless, if they did the right thing, then why did a couple of them resign in disgrace? Why didn't they? If they did everything right, if they did what they were supposed to do, uh, why were they forced to step down? Um, so very strange things happening there. Uh, I don't know as much as it seems like some people do about you know, about Black Rock, and about you know, the supposed attempt to seize the land and make it into a the Maui area into a 15-minute smart city. And you know, these kinds of you'll own nothing and be happy globalist WEF kinds of scenarios, or that apparently they're trying to set up, you know, involving BlackRock and supposedly Oprah Winfrey having a house close by. These are things that, you know, I've heard about, but I don't feel comfortable just saying, you know, yes, it's definitely this or that, or the other thing, because I don't know enough. But what is interesting to me is that, like I was saying a few minutes ago, the there seems to be some more attention being paid to, you know, this is something was really off here. This is not just a natural disaster. There was something. This is not just, you know, an unfortunate event uh, where you know, a lot of people were injured and died, and you know, there was maybe incompetence amongst the the officials who were the emergency officials and law enforcement officers and firemen and whatnot. Um, uh, Instead, what I am hearing from you know, from people is, you know, from sources out there, is this was there's so many things that are wrong with this picture. So that's really, I guess, my point of interest with all of this. I mean, I am interested in the questions about why this happened, why these officials behaved in this way, why there's all this very suspicious looking stuff going on, why as the YouTube channel Minutes of Horror, I think is what the name of it. He posted about a book that was released from Amazon on August 10th, and it was covering the fires, and it said the fires that went from August 8th through August 11th. Suddenly they're releasing a book and using the term global warming to talk about the book. Uh, you know, making trying to make the connections to global warming, and of course, if this is global warming, then we need then the Great Reset is gotta we gotta start kicking it into high gear. Um, and uh, this is like, I don't know. I just I get the feeling that people have an awareness that things aren't right. I get that feeling. Don't get me wrong. I know there are plenty of people who just don't know, probably don't even know about this story, and I think there are people who only peripherally know about it, and I don't know that much about it myself. So, and I'm sure there are people who just think, oh well, it was just a natural disaster, and all these paranoid, idiots, conspiracy theorists are making up all this stuff, and but they seem to be they seem to be in the minority from what I have, from my observation, at least. Maybe they're not in the minority, but they don't seem to be in those kinds of thoughts, those kinds of ideas don't seem to be all that prevalent when this issue is discussed. And I think back on past events. I think back on you know New Orleans when the hurricane happened, and then the levees broke, and there was all kinds of chaos and stuff that went on there, and there was a lot of criticism about the federal reaction to it. It this was back in 2005. I remember back then, it was mostly left leaning people who were saying, that who were talking like along the lines of conspiracy, or you know, well, like Kanye West said at the time, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And people, conservatives hated Kanye back then, hated him for saying that, and now the shoe's totally on the other foot, isn't it? It's wild. Um, uh, but I get the feeling that at the time of when the New Orleans catastrophes happened, uh, the nation was in a different place. Generally speaking, there was still a lot of division. There was still a lot of rancor, and there was still a great partisan divide. But it didn't seem as though there was so much. Um, it didn't seem like there were so many people saying this just isn't right. There were a few people saying this isn't right, and this was done intentionally. This was done on purpose, and but there wasn't this kind of there wasn't this impending fear of the the takeover of the the people imposing the Great Reset. The stuff about the Great Reset, stuff about you know, what is it, 20, 2030, Agenda 21, those kinds of things. I mean, you found people talking about that kind of stuff in certain circles, but it just seems like now, with Maui, with the events of Maui, like this, like it's become more front and center. Um, and as I said, like even the mainstream news are where they, I'm sure they're covering things up. I'm sure they're not reporting the whole truth, but they're even saying things about how the police responded, how they blocked off the roads and didn't let people out, uh, and how they didn't set off the alarm, and shut down the water, uh, the shut off the water so that people couldn't put out the fire, and how there was just such negligence bordering on criminality, bordering on, you know, well, did they just want to pen all these people in and have them fend for themselves and keep the fires going as long as possible? I mean, that's as I said, you don't want to you don't want to just put that notion out there, uh, and unquestioningly, because it's a you know it's a notion that is it's a very loaded idea, and you should err on the side of more. I don't want to say more reasonable, but more, the whole notion that the simplest explanation is usually the one that does the trick. Um, you know, but what is the simplest explanation for behavior like that? Again, I don't want to say definitively that it was that it was done on purpose. You know, or that there was an order that was put out. But at the same time, certain things are hard to ignore, and people are talking about it. People are buzzing about it. You know, it's it's not it's kind of off the beaten path. Of course, it's often in Maui, which is in Hawaii, which is only it's a state. It's part of the United States, but it's not part of the continental 48. So it's a little distant from most of us, most of our consciousness, but still, it is U.S. soil, and what's going on there? Are they really trying to? Are they really trying to put this great reset into play? Is this their move? Is this them making their move? You know, and if it is, what's the correct counter move? That's the question for all of us to ponder. So those are just a few thoughts. Please leave your comments below. I'm sorry this was a little rambly, but I just felt the need to address this matter. I'm very interested in what anybody else has to say about it. Thanks for watching.